Welcome to Voices from the Field podcast presented by Extra Innings Softball, where the stories are real, the conversations are honest, and the game goes way beyond the field. We're bringing you insight, inspiration, and all things softball from the people shaping the sport. Welcome back to another episode of Voices from the Field. Today we have a really special guest, someone who has actively been in the portal this summer and been successful in finding her future home. And we're super excited to have Aylani Ottley on the call today. She's going to talk all about her experience in college. She's a fifth year, so she has a lot of really cool experiences that a lot of people want to hear about and know about. So with that all being said, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are, your journey, all that fun stuff.
My name is Aylani Ottley. I graduated from the Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I got my bachelor's in criminal justice, and I now attend the University of Texas at El Paso, and I'm pursuing my master's in leadership studies with a concentration in community engagement, and I'm playing my final year of softball. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I think I want to just start with the whole thing because there's so many stories about the portal. Mm-hmm. Good, bad, ugly. And I just really want this whole call to be like, tear the fluff away, maybe share your experiences and others of your friends if you're willing to do that. But go through the reason or the kind of step-by-step timeline of how you entered the portal, how you made those decisions, who supported you, all those good things.
Yeah, so I was very transparent with my coaching staff when it came to wanting to enter the portal. I redshirted my freshman year, so I knew that I had another year, and I had that opportunity to be able to go somewhere else and have a different experience after graduation. So I was very transparent with my head coach, with my assistant coaches, and let them know that it was more of a career move for me rather than just focusing on softball. I think I exercised all of my resources at the school that I was at when it came to NIL and education and just all of my resources. I really took the initiative to go out and get everything done that I had to get done there. And so it was really important to me to get into a different environment and be able to do the same thing at another institution. And they supported me and they made sure that I was being put into the portal and getting my name out there. They used their relationships with other coaches and schools as well to kind of put my name in the mix. So I actually entered the portal the fall before my final season at Southern. And I was in the portal during that semester just to open up my lines of communication. And then after that, I played my season and then continued my communication after season.
Well, I think for me, it's kind of cool to hear a story like this when you talk about it, because so often what you hear is people hopping into the portal because they're not happy with their playing time or they didn't have a good relationship with their coach. And I think so many people see the portal as a negative. I mean, I believe like most good things that come out, it's the original intent for the portal was for stories just like yours. You've graduated, you're moving on, you're looking for something different in a career. Let me ask you this. When you went into the portal in that fall, did you have people contacting you throughout the season?
Yes. So there was, and we traveled a lot for this last season. And so we went to California, we were in Georgia for pre-conference. And so being able to kind of like hear from the coaches during the winter, and then now we're traveling and I'm seeing these coaches and we're playing against them. It was kind of, you know, a little bit of like a culture shock because I had never been in the portal and I've heard all of these stories about the portal. And so I didn't really know how my experience was going to go.
Right.
And so just to be able to see these coaches in person and then not really be able to communicate the same way that we were communicating during the winter time during season was kind of off-putting. During season, they were checking in, reaching out, just seeing how the season was going along and just very organic conversation, not so much about, okay, this is where I'm going to go. It was just more so, how's school, how's the team looking, how are you guys performing this season? We're keeping up with you and everything like that. So it's
almost like you went through a full second recruiting, but as a more of a mature adult going through it while you're playing. So how many of the schools that you were talking to, you don't have to tell me which ones, we don't need to do any of that, did you actually play against in the spring? Like you actually went and played against them?
Yeah, I would say probably about 3 to 4 different teams. It was a very weird situation because before, like in the wintertime, I didn't know that we were going to go up against these schools. we have like a tentative schedule, but when it comes to pre-conference, we don't have like an exact set in stone, like this is the schedule for each tournament and stuff like that. And so I knew that some of them were going to be at the same locations we were, but to actually be like on the field playing against them was crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned when you're talking to your coaches that you were very transparent with them and honest with them, and they're very supportive. And so I'm kind of going off the record a little bit with this, but we just had an episode last week where me and Carrie talked a lot about recruiting and, that September 1 date and all that stuff.
Yes.
And that was one of the big things was, being open and honest with coaches. And so I want to kind of ask you, kind of referring back to your initial recruiting process back in high school. You clearly, picked a school you stayed at for 4 years. So which is honestly, at the end of the day, what everybody wants to do is find that school that they feel like they can stay for the long haul.
Right.
So kind of tell me about your recruiting process out of high school, what to look for in coaches to where you have coaches now that, you stayed with them for 4 years and they're still supportive of you moving into another chapter of your life. Just give me some tips that maybe if they're 2027s that are listening to this, that are about to enter that process, like what would you say to look for in a coaching staff and in a school to find a school that supports you throughout anything, throughout your career? Make sure to go to our polls tab on our website to put in your input on different controversial opinions and hot takes. We have questions about fundraising, about if you think players today have more pressure than they did 10 years ago, how the game has grown, NIL, and so much more. So we want to hear from you. We want to hear your opinions, and we most likely will talk about these topics on our podcast. So we want to get your input before we talk about it. So go to our website, xtrainingsoftball.com, click on our polls tab, and make sure to give your input on softball's most controversial takes.
Yeah. So my recruiting process, I think I was definitely one of the lucky ones. It was during COVID. And so it was very different. There was a dead period. There was a time where we couldn't talk to anybody, but then there was a time where like everything was off limits. And so it was very confusing, but I did have a coach that did take a chance on me and gave me the opportunity to play Division I softball. So another kind of turn in the story, I was recruited by one coach, and like 2 weeks before leaving or before going into school, he left. And so I did go into Southern with a new coaching staff. And so we were both new to the program.
Yeah.
And so going in there, I would be lying if I said that at some point I did not want to transfer in my 4 years there, definitely. Yeah. But I think realizing, and my coach was Brittany Williams, I would be lying if I said that I didn't feel like she was investing in me with the challenges that she did put me up against. And so one of the stories that I tell everyone is that I'm now a lefty hitter, I'm a slapper, and I made that transition my sophomore year of college, and I was a right-handed hitter. And that was probably one of the biggest things that pushed me to wanting to leave, because I was like, there's no way, right? And I remember talking to my family, talking to my mom, my dad, and just being like, I don't know what to do, like before an exit meeting. And I prayed on it, and really I had to come to the realization that my coaches were investing in me. They didn't think that I could do something like that, or I didn't have the potential to really excel in a skill like that. They wouldn't have even kept me around to want to push like that. And ended up getting a spot in the lineup, having a starting position, and everything was everything after that. But really just like staying down and understanding that a coach that challenges you and a coach that sees a potential in you is a coach that is going to be rooting for you forever outside of the field, on the field, regardless of whatever the challenges that are put up against you.
So like my brain just went in like 15 different podcasts.
Me too.
Like I'm struggling to sit here to get back on from the portal, because I'm like, man, talk about embracing roles and transitioning, and then, just seeing the other side of it and come back. Mm-hmm. But let me ask you this. Are there things that you feel, whether it's from stories from some of your friends who have gone through the portal multiple times or anything like that, that you think that if you could get out as an athlete, that college softball could do to better support the college athletes going into the portal? Because sadly, the facts of the matter is I don't even remember what the final number is this year, but there was over 1,100 kids, young women, I should say. You're kidding me, so I can say that. Young women in the portal, and probably half of those won't find a home again. So, what do you think college softball as a whole could do to either better educate or help the young 27s going into making decisions and or helping the college athletes going into the portal?
Right. I think it's definitely a touchy situation because I have a younger sister that plays softball as well and was looking into playing in college. And I think it's very hard to think about how these girls coming straight out of high school will get opportunities and get recruited when a coach would much rather someone that has the experience that can just come and hit the ground running and make an immediate impact in a program. And so I think that the younger kids are developing so quickly. I'm so glad I don't play travel ball anymore because the way that they ball now is beyond me. I think definitely creating those relationships with these coaches, I think that's probably one of the biggest things that will go over any skill or any immediate impact that someone else can make, is being able to make that relationship and know that you are worth investing in and developing as someone who could possibly be there for 4 years. I think that's probably one of the biggest traits that a young woman can have in playing softball. It's really easy to pick up somebody who already has the experience, but like how the transfer portal is now, they go to one school and then they'll switch to another school and hit the portal again and hit the portal again. And so I think coaches are really valuing somebody who is willing to come and stay and invest in one program and being able to develop there for more than 1-2 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, it's so difficult because I listen to you and I'm like, yeah, that's the hardest thing. And even a situation like you, where it's like you have 4 years of experience. Like,
right.
I mean, if I was a coach, like I would rather pick you up, for 1 year, knowing that you have 4 years versus a freshman. And I wonder, and this is like a open-ended question, but do you think there should be like a limit on how many, transfers like a coach can pick up in a summer? I don't know. That's just a question I just thought about.
I think it would make sense, like recruiting wise, just to kind of make sure everyone gets an even playing field when it comes to eligibility and when it comes to just a roster period, especially because now there's a roster cap and like a whole roster full of transfers. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? I don't understand like how that can be a solid 25, you know what I mean? And also at the same time, give opportunities to the girls who are coming straight out of high school.
Right. Carrie, what do you think?
That's a loaded question. I'm all about less regular. I feel like we have the portal. We have everything we do. We have this huge NC book because we try to govern ethics. And the bottom line is we can't. And if you can't, the more we try to govern ethics, the more we hurt the people that have the ethics, because the ones that don't have ethics aren't going to pay attention to anything that you put in place anyways. I think it really puts it back on the student athletes and the parents. And that's where my big challenge is for everybody. If you are doing your homework, then you're going to know what kind of culture you're getting yourself into.
Right.
If you're a young 27 and you're looking at, schools or talking to coaches, I call them portal U's, where you go and they've got 7 or 8 coming in every year. You should probably sit back and go, hey, where do I fit in this mix? It would be like saying, I'm going to go play for Bobby Knight in basketball. And you both are so young, you might not even know who he is. But he was a basketball coach that used to throw chairs on the floor. And you get there and then you're shocked that he's yelling at you.
Right.
You'd be shocked. Like, he didn't change his stripes. You just thought it was going to be different for you. So I think it goes back to the power is truly in the student athletes' decision making, as well as the parents. And obviously the younger student athletes, your high school ones, is why I'm saying parents, as they get into college, it is. And I think the portal was created for things. I coached at the Power 4 level for over 20 years. Mm-hmm. I will never tell you who or what or when's, but there were schools that you would watch recruit young women that you knew they were never going to play, but they wanted to make sure they weren't going to play for their opponent.
Yeah, right.
And all of a sudden, those young women go there and they're shocked when they're sophomores and juniors and still haven't played, and they didn't have an avenue to go. So those coaches who hoarded players, I think, is what fought for something like this. Mm-hmm. I would like to see that you can't hop into a portal 1 year. Yeah. Like, I would like to think that, the first time you go into the portal is the freebie. The second one, maybe you have to sit out a year. It's got to be worth something. Right. And then I say that and go, well, what happens when the kid that goes into the portal goes, and then their coach leaves and the new coach come in and says, hey, you're not ever going to play for me. So we're going to penalize that student athlete for something out of their control.
Right.
So I think I'm really avoiding giving you a full answer. The biggest thing I'm telling you is I think parents and student athletes alike, whether they're high school or college, you've got to do your research and you've got to really put some time into it and trust your gut. And I would say more importantly, talk to the student athletes. The coaches can tell you anything. Student athletes will tell you everything.
Yes.
Yep.
And I think that's really important. I think what Aylani said to us that is so rich to me is it goes back that she was upfront, she was honest, they talked. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. And I think that's what it starts. But that has to start in the recruiting process.
Yes.
From student athletes not mis-selling themselves that you've got a shoulder issue that you're not telling coaches about or all those kind of things, And then you have the portal that I think is a good thing. My daughter is going to Arkansas. And if all of a sudden she decides her sophomore year there, she wants to be a marine biologist. Well, that ain't happening in Arkansas.
Right.
Even if you got Beaver Lake, there ain't anything down there you're studying to pass into marine biology. So I guess the best way to say it is know who you surround yourself with. Talk to the people that you're going to surround yourself with before you do it so that it doesn't matter what the rules are out there. You're kind of guiding your best way. But I think the thing that she also shared is the decision for her was not based on playing time or not happy with the coach. And yet she had those feelings. Right. She was asked to become a slapper as a sophomore in college.
That's so hard. That's
almost more
crazy
than not playing. It's almost been better to not play at that point in time. So I have to think that her tribe behind her people behind her, really helped educate and mold her as a person. So for me, whether I was a Power 4 coach or a student athlete or a parent of a student athlete, I think it's a matter of do your research of who it is that you're playing for. Tigers don't change their stripes.
Right.
And they are what they are. So you have to know it on the front end. And I think I just beat around for 20 minutes on not give you a straight answer. But I worry about anything that the NC2A comes in and passes as a rule, because normally when they're doing it, they're going to mess it up and got to start all over again. And here we are trying to figure out how many years of eligibility an athlete even has at this point in time. So I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, you kind of set it up great, because kind of going into doing your research and making sure that you're going where you're wanted. Tell us about your recruiting process after the portal. Tell us about why you chose UTEP. Isn't it UTEP? That's what they did. I was trying to be cool and use the little UTEP, not Texas El Paso. Yeah,
it's easier than University Texas El Paso.
Right. Yeah. So tell me, why you chose UTEP. Give me all of the, your recruiting journey out after the portal in college. Just kind of take us through what made you decide on that.
So Southern University is an HBCU. They play in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So that experience in itself was amazing, being able to play Division I and at more of a minority scene school and capitalize on that. I was in the same town as LSU. And so, NIL and everything was it was a great experience overall. And so I'm really grateful for that experience and getting my undergrad there, not only just playing softball, but after, how I said, I feel like I capitalized on NIL, I capitalized athletically, academically. And so my goal was to go into a different kind of institution and capitalize there as well. And so that was probably one of the biggest things that made me choose the school that I did. I'm originally from San Diego, California, but I went to high school and was recruited out of El Paso, Texas. Being able to play travel ball out here and being able to have teammates who went P4, went to UTEP, went to different, different places. Yeah. It's really important for me to put on for my city and put on for the girls who were once like me, who had very limited offers or went through COVID and, kind of had disadvantages, injuries, et cetera, and being from a small town and being able to come back to El Paso and still play Division I softball and now play in a conference that is being widely known because of Liberty, because they were able to put on in the World Series, different things like that really put into my decision in coming here. And just, I I love to be able to represent a smaller community. I love being able to represent for women and student athletes that are women, and just being able to do that from home and target the group and the community that I'm from specifically, I think was probably, it was like a no-brainer. It was like, yes, of course, let's do it. So, yes.
And let me ask you, say you have a younger sister. How much younger? Is she in high school, college? Where's she at?
So she actually just graduated high school, and so she's going to college. She's going to UTEP too. She's not playing softball, but she'll be on the same school as me. So yes.
Okay. Oh,
that's so
awesome.
cool.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Well, let me ask you this. In the process of this, are you rejoining any of your travel friends that will be playing? Are you joining any friends that you're playing at UTEP, or are you going and knowing no one?
Pausing our episode really quick so that you guys know that our class of 2028 nomination forms are open now. So now until September 1st, you will be able to nominate your class of 2028 player for our rankings. We're really excited to see this class and how they have grown, how they're shining in their sport. I know travel season this year is wrapping up. I know that there are so many great class of 2028 players that really stood out this year. Make sure that you get your nomination form in now. Go to our website, extrainningsoftball.com, and there will be a button at the very top that says nominate here. So make sure to do that now so your class of 2028 player doesn't get missed. And we cannot wait to see all the amazing things that she has done so far. Now back to the episode.
So as of right now, I don't know anybody directly, but I am, if you guys probably know who she is, Asia Richard. She was a third baseman for UTEP, All-American. She really popped it last year. She went crazy last year. And so she was a part of my recruiting process too, just being able to like give me the insight that I needed about the program, about the coaches, and kind of get my name in there as well. And so she sadly moved away, but she's definitely somebody that I'm looking forward to being able to put on her school and represent her as well. And we played travel ball together all throughout. Also, Autumn Scott, she was a pitcher. She was a slapper too at UTEP. And so I played travel ball with her. It's a big community of girls that are still in El Paso too, that played at UTEP, that I played travel ball with. And so I'm very excited. Everyone, the coaches for Firecrackers, I played for El Paso Firecrackers. They're still local. And so I'm really excited to just be able to join them again in the softball community out here. So yeah.
Right.
That's
So
fun.
in the recruiting process, did they talk about leadership or what other traits that you could be? Because obviously being a former coach, I would love to have fifth year kids playing for me because they're not kids, they're women, and their experiences are different. What does that look like? What are you hoping it will be? What are they wanting from you?
Yeah. So that was definitely a big part of our conversation on my visit and throughout the whole recruiting process. We talked a lot about my impact on the field and what I'll be able to do walking in, but a lot of it was me being able to help lead and help kind of coach up the younger girls and just kind of give them a sense of what college is, what college will look like. Because of the initiatives that I did take when I was at Southern, I'm able to walk into another program kind of experience, not only on the field, but as someone who was a captain and managed with other girls, with younger girls, and academically, et cetera. And so that's definitely a big portion of it, just being able to help the younger girls navigate what, where, why, how, on and off of the field.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think the transfer portal is helping or hurting long-term development of players, just from somebody who stayed, was developed into a slapper, all that kind of stuff? What is your opinion? Because you have a lot of people that are always on the negative side of it. What do you think that is? How does that play out in it?
Yeah, kind of like how we said before, I think there's a lot of value from just now being older and thinking of like having possibilities of me being able to coach, et cetera. And so I think there's a lot of value in a player that can kind of stay the course for more than 1-2 years. I think that's very important. I think they hold a lot of value. No, it wasn't easy for me. And so I like to pride myself in being able to stay with a program for as long as I did and kind of see it all the way through. But like how we mentioned before, I think there are a lot of situations and scenarios where it's kind of unfortunate that student athletes kind of are faced with different adversities and different things to where they're kind of pushed with no other choice but to enter the portal and kind of move forward. And so I think there's definitely two sides of it. And I think just as much as student athletes have to do research with coaches and programs and staffs, I think the crowd and, you know, the critics have to do equally as much research on the student athlete to know their experience and why they're doing what they're doing. It's not always an easy decision. I mean, I can say that I had a valid reason moving because I didn't want to be a slapper. You know what I mean? I think that's completely valid. But if you talk to somebody else, they would probably say, no, it's worth investing in. You know what I mean? That's not something to leave a school over. And so I think just as much as everyone else's feelings are valid, I think the student athletes' feelings are also valid. And it's very important to hear their experience and their sides of things because we're putting countless hours into perfecting our craft, and it's very easy for softball to not be fun anymore. And I would hate for, you know what I mean, someone else is saying, oh, it's not that serious, but the student athlete is dragging to go what they're there to do, you know what I mean? And so I think it's really important to see both sides of it, and especially as the student athlete, the one who's doing the work, the hard work and the blood, sweat, and tears in it, it's very important to know their points of views and why they're doing what they're doing.
Absolutely. I think you couldn't have said that any better. If there was one thing that you wish you would have known prior to jumping into the portal, what would you give everybody out there that's looking to go into the portal? What would be that one golden nugget that you go, man, had I only known?
Right. I would probably say other than, you know what I mean, stay down, stay the course, don't hit the portal if you don't have to. I would definitely say that silence isn't always a negative. I think it's very easy to get caught up in, you know, scrolling. I had to delete Twitter while I was in the portal. I literally deleted Twitter while I was in the portal. I had to stay off of social media because, you know, you see these girls, they're going on visits, they're doing this, doing that. And then you look at deadlines and you're looking at these different rules and like, you're kind of like, okay, I'm good. Like no one is going on visits right now. So like, I'm okay. And then you go and look on Twitter and it's like, I just committed to and it's like, well, I didn't hear from anyone yet. You know what I mean? And so I think I would say to trust your process, whatever you're going through, the schools that you're connecting with, I would say stay consistent, but also just know that, you know what I mean? Not everyone else's process is the same as yours. Mine was on a random Memorial Day where UTEP, you know what I mean? The school that I wanted to pursue reached out to me, and it was very random, very out of nowhere. And it was like, yes, let's do it. And prior to that, the schools that I was talking to, it was kind of wishy-washy, up and down. Nothing was ever set in stone when I was in the portal. And so just being able to trust that your process will prevail in the way that it's meant to.
Yeah, I love that. I think it'd be a great way to transition into and just kind of talk to you about, or ask you about the NIL and the roster size. Like, tell us your experience at Southern, what you're looking for. Everybody hears NIL and they see, you know, $1.2 million deals, but talk the real scoop of it. What's it look like? What can, you know, a student athlete hope for? All that kind of stuff.
I would say NIL. So playing at a mid-major, we're not getting 1.2 million. Like that's not doing that. And at a lot of these schools, there's also not I would guess say like revenue pool or like a donor pool to where, you know what I mean? Like football or other big sports like that, they're able to just directly pull out of the pool and give this athlete money regardless of any other like brands, etc. And so it's like NIL coming directly from the school. But realistically, if you're not Nigeria Kennedy, like that's not, you know what I mean? Like it's not a normal instance ever. And so my experience with NIL, it was really making my own brand for myself. I started that my freshman year. I medical redshirted my freshman year. And so I really didn't have anything else to do but to try to get my own name out there as much as I could without directly being on the field and playing softball. And so like making my own brand on social, on all platforms, and just being able to really capitalize on the school that I went to, who I am as a person, my personality, and just blasting it out there, not being afraid to just say like, this is my story. Like if anyone can relate to it, like I'm here, like follow me. Let's go on this walk together. And all of my undergrad, I managed myself. I was able to reach out to different brands and kind of pitch myself to different brands in order for them to work with me. And my big motive behind it was not only getting myself the notoriety, but also back to my program, back to my school. Like how I said, I was right next to LSU, and you know what I mean? The local brands, they gravitate towards LSU, but it's like, no, there's two Division I schools in the city, and there's two softball programs. We played LSU every fall. And so like being able to just kind of bring that attention back to my program, back to my school period, was a big push for me. And so NIL played a huge part in that. And I wanted to make sure that I was the person to do that, whether I was representing athletics at Southern, whether I was representing Southern itself, or whether I was representing Southern softball. I made sure I went out there and did that myself. And I know now, you know what I mean? There's managers and agents and all of that down to the high school level. And so being able to just really push for yourself, because I feel like the athlete has to want it at the end of the day. Like you can get managers, agents, etc., but if the athlete isn't showing sides of themselves that the world wants to see or hasn't got to see yet, there's not going to be very many opportunities there.
Yeah. So here I'm hearing you're 18 years old, sitting in Southern Baton Rouge, 1 of 2 Division I, and you're injured, so you have to redshirt. How on earth did you decide I have to push my brand out there? And for some young kids, what does that even mean? Because they think brand, Nike, Easton. What does that mean?
Yeah. So in high school, you know, you're going Division I in high school, you're definitely like kind of a talk of a town, talk of the city, talk of the school. And I knew that I liked that feeling. And so, to be honest, I wanted to carry that into college. And I wanted, you know, I see these people, they talk about, oh, like they're the face of athletics. They do this, they do that. Like they have so much going on outside of the field. And I knew that I wanted to take part in something like that. And so going into college, I already kind of knew that I felt like I had the personality for it. I felt like I kind of had the avenue for it. And so that's definitely something that I wanted to walk into. I knew I wanted to walk into going into college. But like how you said, there's a lot of big brands, and, you know, Baton Rouge, they have Canes and this and Nike and all of this stuff. And so it's like, oh, I want to be on a billboard like tomorrow. But it's realistically, that's not, you have to start small and kind of work your way up. I worked with a lot of smaller local brands starting off, kind of being like ambassadors, being this, being that. And then after that, and building my program with this, or building my platform with the smaller brands, I was able to get more attention and people kind of saying like, okay, like she's taking this social media stuff a little bit serious. She's, you know what I mean, putting herself out there. She's da-da-da. We want to work with her. Let's work with her. And so then I was able to work with bigger brands and bigger corporations and bigger collaborations.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's really cool. And how has that transition following you now to El Paso? Yeah. I would have to imagine that that's probably something that can even be bigger because you are an El Paso girl. Yes. So there's a local, you know, flavor to that part of it. What does that look like compared to where you come from?
Yeah. So definitely that was another big push into coming to UTEP. Just the fact that the politics are on my side, coming back home, kind of building a name in high school and then leaving, building a name in Baton Rouge, and now returning back. And it's kind of like a big talk. But that was also a big conversation in recruiting where it was like, you know, what I have to offer, not only as a player or as a fifth year, but I can also bring the publicity or the notoriety to the program simply not only just because of my crowd, but also my initiative in wanting to get out into the community and doing what I have to do to build the brand and build the name around the jersey, in a sense. And so right now, NIL, everything is in the works, NIL-wise here at UTEP. We haven't yet even touched on campus, but I've already had meetings and put myself out there and kind of gotten my face around campus, you know, advisors, everyone, just so that they know who I am and can also vouch for me whenever I do take the step to, you know what I mean, start building these relationships professionally.
That's awesome.
I love that. You're just going and getting it. That's what I love. Yes. And that's what I love to make sure people kind of realize, and the bigger schools, maybe it's not as much of a thing, but you got to work for the NIL. That's kind of the experience that I know. I'm a little older, so NIL was brand new, but when you had to work for it, where I was at too, at a mid-major. And so I love that you're getting it. You're going out there and you're working to get what you want. And that's obviously going to serve you well in the future too. So I love to hear that. And I'm very excited to kind of see, how it all, you know, shakes out for you. But we want to end this with a rapid fire question type situation. As long as Carrie, you good? Do you have any other questions?
I'm good.
Okay, perfect. I was gonna say, I don't want to cut you off. Okay, so we'll also have a few questions. super fun, super light. What's your favorite hype song?
I'd probably have to say some Meek Mill song. Honestly, Meek Mill gets me in that mode. Like,
Love
really,
it.
I'll probably say "Shine" by Meek Mill.
Okay, what about walkout song?
"Hustler Music" by Lil Wayne. That's my walk-up song. Yes.
Love. Have you had that for a while?
Yes, I had it for the last 3 years now.
Oh,
So
perfect. Yeah,
it's stuck.
that is yours. Yes. Okay, what about talking NIL? What's your dream NIL brand? Like, what would be a picture perfect brand that you'd want to work with?
Now that I'm at an Adidas school, I would have to say Adidas locker room.
Yes.
Let me know.
yes.
I need
I love it. I love Adidas. Adidas to me doesn't get enough credit. I love Adidas.
literally, yes. And
What
I'm
is
a big Sis Bates fan, and Sis Bates works.
Yes.
Yes.
Look, Sis Bates, come get her. Come get your girl. What is the best piece of advice you've ever gotten from a coach?
I'd probably say, like how I said, to stay down and stay the course. It gets greater later, definitely.
I like that.
It gets greater later.
I like it. Yeah. If you could sit down with your younger freshman self, what would be something you'd want to tell her?
I would say to find your identity outside of softball. I think
Yes.
it wasn't fun for a long time, and it was because my whole world would go away whenever I had a bad performance. And, in college, and especially in undergrad, I was able to find God, find my faith, and really walk in that and find an identity outside of softball. And in turn, I had a great turnout, and, you know what I mean? I've been able to do all that I've been able to do. And so that's definitely what I would tell her.
That is awesome.
Yes.
And then one more, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. So obviously 2025 has been an end of a chapter for you, and then also a beginning of a chapter for you. What is one word, if you could sum up this year? I know you still have a few more months to go, but so far, how could you describe 2025 in one word?
I would say blessed. I think my walk is very unique, and I feel very blessed to be able to say that it went the way that it did. I took a lot of risks and was able to get a lot of reward out of those risks. And so no one but God. God really pushed me through all of that.
That's incredible. So do you have any final words for players maybe that are thinking portal, or final words for any of our class of 2027 or 28s as they're approaching, and any final words you'd like to close this out with?
I would say just trust your gut and trust God through all of it. Those two will give you the answers to any and everything that you're kind of stuck in between. Whenever you kind of go with your discernment and what you're leaning more towards, it always has the best outcome. Don't let no one else's process, no one else's opinions kind of steer you off of what your heart and what your gut is telling you.
Where can people follow your journey? Because obviously you have your brand and it's out there now that people have fallen in love with you here. Where can they follow your journey?
On any platforms, you could just search up my name, Aylani Ottley, and I'll be there.
Not a very common name, so I'm sure it sticks out.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to put it out there to you. We have a new segment called Faith Friday. Mm-hmm. And with your cross on your chest and the way you speak so eloquently about Christ, guess what? You're booked.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for hopping on. I love getting to know you more. I know people that are listening are going to love hearing your story. And yeah, just thank you again.
Yes. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Voices from the Field, presented by Extra Inning Softball. Don't forget to follow us on social media, subscribe to us on Spotify, and visit our website at extrainningsoftball.com for more stories, rankings, and updates from around the game. We'll see you guys next week.